I'm back once again to tell you about 3 Quo-Inspired albums that you should check out. And we're going to start with one which isn't 100% Quo-influenced, but I do know that the artist, Owen, is incredibly influenced by Quo's music. He's done many covers on YouTube of various songs from their career. This album's called My Favorite Reflection. It was released in 2019 and there are 9 songs on it, but there's a lot of things going on here because, like I say, not 100% Quo influenced, but there's definitely echoes of some of Quo's material in there. We've got songs like The Hunter, which is a long song, very much in the style of something like Breaking Away. I love that little jig thing in the middle that you could imagine Quo kind of knocking out in the late 70s, maybe up to the early 90s. And obviously, other albums like Ian Hill's Keep On Rockin' On have done that as well with his How Many Times, that sort of jiggy bit in the middle. So that's definitely Quo-inspired. There are other influences in here. You can hear kind of echoes of definitely the 80s, the way in which he uses the drum, the kind of Meatloaf-inspired vocal passages. I think there's bits of Queen in there as well, Whitesnake, that kind of American rock stuff in there. But things like The Power of Music, the variation is very kind of Quo, and Little Lies obviously is the most obvious, I think, when you're talking about Quo-inspired material. It's got that kind of boogie 12-bar thing in there. If you're looking for something that is Quo-inspired but not 100% full on, then this is definitely one that you should check out. And I've also interviewed Ricky as well, so go and check that out on the channel. And just a quick word on this cover as well. I love this hand-drawn vibe, echoing that reflection theme in the title, just the kind of the artist and the title in the corner of the image. Very effective, certainly with the white. It shows up on my screen here extremely well, and if I'm just kind of listening and I look across and I think, yep, that just kind of stands out, I know exactly what album it is I'm listening to. What do you think of this album? Let me know in the comments below. So from an 80s flavor to a 70s one, I'm talking about Rough Business, the 2017 album by Sound of Status. They are a Status Quo tribute band, but they also do original material and other things as well. I listened to this album earlier today and I haven't heard it for a while, and it has a harder edge, possibly harder than Quo themselves ever went, but there's that definite Quo sound in there. From riffs like Downtown, that sort of whatever you wanty type thing they've got going on, to just straightforward boogie rock like I Left Home, Gonna Get Ya. You know, it's got that harder edge, all sort of more towards maybe AC/DC and Airborne and other bands in which I haven't fully discovered yet. Tracks like Miss You, though, have that Quo vibe to it. They nail it. So where does this sit in terms of Quo inspiration? I think somewhere between sort of 74 and 75, maybe early 76. We've got that kind of vibe going on here, but it's obvious that there are other influences coming into play. It's a great album. I really enjoyed listening to it again, and it's available from Barrel and Squidger Records. It's been released on vinyl. I haven't got my copy yet. I really should hurry up with that because they've probably run out by now. But this is definitely one of those albums I think that would sound great on vinyl. It's got that kind of vibe to it. Yeah, they nailed that boogie sound. There's other things going on in there, and that's always interesting. I love hearing people's interpretations, you know, how they hear things and what they kind of insert into there. It's so interesting. So that is Sound of Status, Rough Business from 2017. Lastly, Mean by Predatur, released in 2004. 9 tracks on this one, And this is one of the first Quo-inspired albums I remember hearing. I was a huge fan of this. I was going for a really rough time in my early 20s when I discovered this album, and it just matched my mood perfectly. Because when they say, like, no nonsense boogie, this is that album. This is that album, I think, where you're getting plenty of that boogie. You've got the crunching power chords in there, but you've also got some really nice melodies. Stuff like First Time, Crazy, if slowed down or softened up a little bit, would actually work as kind of a commercial song that would play really well on the radio to even a non-rock audience. But this, I mean, First Time, I think I played on the radio quite a few times, and it just sounds good. But yeah, there's a lot of long songs on this album, and you do worry with that. When you see the length of things, you think, oh, is it going on for too long? No, not with this, because what you see is what you get, and if you like what's coming, then you just want more of it. Tracks like End of the Road, lots of variation. Seen You Here, lots of variation. There are lots of periods, like with Quo and 4,500 Times and Roadhouse Blues, where it might seem repetitious, but you're just going with the vibe. And that's what you've got here. It just sounds like a band have turned up in the studio and just started playing live. And I've interviewed Baz Barry on the podcast previously. In fact, all of the albums I featured today, I have interviewed pretty much, all three of them. And Baz told me he wrote these songs in his sort of late teens, 20s, and he just wanted to put them down to kind of show his son later what he used to do. And you can definitely tell that there's that kind of late 70s, early 80s influence in there. It sounds really authentic, and you've got that sort of teenage experience as well. I think that naivety that comes through in some of the things, in things like Mind's Made Up, Need Your Love, obviously not the Quo track, Moving On. I mean, this album has everything if you're looking for a Quo-inspired album. This album has those, as I say, hard, crunching rhythms, but we've also got the relatable lyrics and the melody of which Quo can do so well. In terms of timeline, I'm thinking maybe early 70s, 71 to about 74, with kind of snatches of 79 to 80 in there. That is Mean. It's available in many places. I'll leave all the details in the description below. So once again, that is 3 Quo-inspired albums that I think you should check out. Have you heard these? What did you make of them? And are there any that I've missed? Now, obviously, if I've missed them, I'm going to go and listen to them and talk to you about them and recommend them. So please let me know all that in the comments below, and I'll see you again for another episode of the Quo-Cast.